I came home late from work and heard my aunt say, "And in comes the bastard." My dad went pale, my mom fell silent, then she finally told me the truth. I was never his son. I, 17 live with my mom, 38, and dad, 40. My parents married young. My mom is a stay-at-home mom who works part-time, while my dad is a software developer. I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. For as long as I can remember, I've been treated like the black sheep of the family. Birthdays? Just a cupcake from my mom, no presents. Friends over? Not allowed. Christmas? Nothing to look forward to. The most I'd get was a pair of socks, while I watched my siblings unwrap expensive gifts from our dad, aunts, uncles, and grandparents, new bikes, designer clothes, phones, game consoles, video games. You name it, they got it. Their birthdays were just as extravagant, huge parties with friends and family, showered in gifts. Me? Nothing. Family trips and vacations? I was never included. Instead, I was left behind with my grandparents, who were incredibly strict. Sometimes, they wouldn't even keep me and would just have someone else pick me up. When I was 13, my mom got a part-time job, and occasionally, she'd ask if we could spend the day together while my dad and siblings were out. Even if it was something small, like getting ice cream, it meant a lot to me. At home, I mostly stayed in my room and studied. No matter how well I did in school or sports, my dad never showed any interest. Eventually, I started tutoring for money and later got part-time jobs at a food court and a grocery store. That meant I spent less and less time at home, which, honestly, was a relief. Over the years my mental health got worse and worse because of maintaining good grades, doing well at sports, working 2 part-time jobs. My mom helped me find a therapist who has helped a lot. Yesterday I came home from work late, tired and just wanted to go to bed. I opened the door to hear my mom arguing with my dad and aunt about me in the living room. I could hear my aunt saying that I should be more grateful towards my dad. Then they saw me in the doorway and stopped. My mom and dad looked like they had seen a ghost, while my aunt announced, "And in comes the bastard." I was shocked when I heard her say that. I always knew she didn't like me, she mostly ignored me whenever we were in the same room, but this? I got angry and asked her to repeat what she had just said. My dad quickly stopped her, but I wasn't letting this go. I demanded to know why I should be grateful. Silence. So I asked again. Grateful for what? Being ignored? Neglected? Abandoned while my siblings were spoiled and got to play happy family with my dad? That's when my aunt suddenly shouted, "You're not his son." I felt frozen. I turned to my dad and asked if it was true. He looked at me and simply said, "I'm sorry." I didn't know what to say. I turned to my mom, searching for an explanation, but she said nothing. I walked straight to my room and broke down. Later, my mom found me on the floor, shaking and crying. She helped me up and stayed with me until I eventually fell asleep. This morning, I woke up and called in sick. I've barely left my room. I can't stop thinking about it. Every single thing I did, trying to make him proud, trying to get him to acknowledge me, it was all a waste. I just wish I had known years ago. Update. After I put up this post I had to get out of the house. I went to be alone for a while and the thoughts of ending things became too hard to ignore. So I called up my best friend and he picked me up. We went for a drive and I told him what had happened yesterday. He just listened while I just cried and told him everything. He knew my father was like this but not the extended family. I have never seen him so angry before. He had to pull over so he could calm down. I showed him the post and he was silent for a while. After a few minutes he told me that no matter what I was his best friend, and he asked it would be okay if he could talk to his parents about me staying at his place for some time. I said yes. He dropped me off home and we got out of the car, we talked for a bit. Before he left he gave me a hug and just said whenever I felt alone that I should give him a call. When I entered the house I ignored everyone. First, I want to thank everyone for your comments. Even though I haven't responded, I've read through all of them. Your support has not only helped me see things from a different perspective but also given me the strength to keep going until I can move out. You're right, this man is not my father, and I will no longer see him that way. I plan to find out why I've been treated this way, why no one told me the truth all these years, and most importantly, who my biological father is. Is he alive? Does he even know I exist? To clarify, I have no contact with anyone from my mother's side of the family, I don't even know who they are. My 18th birthday is at the end of the summer, and I plan to move out that day, or even sooner if the opportunity arises. Update. A lot has happened over the past few days, and I'm feeling conflicted about many things. But at the same time, I'm hopeful that I can finally start to heal, at least mentally. Also, sorry for the long post. On Thursday, before I left for my shift at the grocery store, my father, who I'll refer to as K from now on, called out to me. I responded with, "Yes, his first name?" He looked confused because I had always called him Dad before. After a brief silence, I bluntly asked, "What?" He didn't respond at first, then just said it was nothing. So I left to catch my bus. Later that evening, when I got home, my mom asked why I called Kay by his first name. I told her that since he never treated me like a son, I saw no reason to call him Dad anymore. She had no answer, but then she told me that he was hurt by it. Hearing that made me want to scream. Yesterday, I had an appointment with my therapist, and I honestly can't put into words how much she has helped me over the years. Later, my best friend called to let me know that if I needed a place to stay, I was welcome to stay with them. This morning, I woke up to find my mom already making breakfast. I asked if we could have a private conversation because it was important. She agreed to talk after breakfast, as Kay had to leave for work soon. Once he was gone, she told my siblings to stay out of the kitchen for a while so we could talk. I am paraphrasing a bit because it was a long conversation. We sat down and I found it hard to get the words out at first, but I told my mom that I can't get over the fact that for all these years how I have been treated and neglected by Kay and his side of the family. And she watched it happen and I need to know why. At first she tried to dodge the question and gave the same answer as always. But I didn't give in and told her that this was important to me, and again she tried to dodge it. So I told her that I can't do this anymore. So I was going to pack up some of my stuff and move out, and not until she was ready to tell me the things I needed to hear we would not be on speaking terms. She started to tear up and just told me how sorry she was and kept on saying, "I am so sorry," over and over. It hurt me in that moment to see my mom cry, and I tried my hardest to keep my emotions in, and I asked her again why. After some time, when she calmed down, she told me what happened. When my mom was 20 and in university, she had been in a relationship for 3 years. She and her boyfriend shared an apartment with his best friend. One night, they went out clubbing, but they got into an argument. She wanted to stay out, while her boyfriend wanted to go home. Frustrated, he left. Both she and his best friend were heavily drunk, and in that state, she ended up cheating on her boyfriend with him at the club. The next morning, she woke up and realized what she had done. A few days later, she and the best friend confessed to the affair, and her boyfriend immediately broke up with her. Furious, he also told her parents what had happened. In response, they cut her off financially, told her she was no longer welcome at home, and disowned her. With nowhere to go and no financial support, she had to move out and even ended up living in her car for a while. When she discovered she was pregnant, she didn't know what to do. She went back to her old apartment, hoping to talk to her ex or his best friend, only to find that they had moved out. She tried calling and texting them, but neither of them ever responded. Eventually, she found a job at a cafe, where she met Kay, a regular customer. Over time, they got to know each other, and he eventually asked her out. She was upfront about being pregnant, but at the time, Kay didn't seem to care. However, when Kay's parents found out, they strongly disapproved of him dating a pregnant woman, especially one with a history of cheating. They even threatened to cut him out of their lives if he stayed with her. Scared, Kay was ready to break things off, but my mom begged him to stay. She promised to be the perfect wife and to give him his own children. They quickly made plans to get married soon after I was born. However, when I was born, Kay showed no interest in me. Despite this, my mom held on to the hope that one day, he would. After hearing all of that, I didn't know what to say for a while. After thinking for a moment, I asked if she had at any point tried to contact my possible bio father. She said no, and the timeline would place her a fair partner to most likely be my bio father, but she can't be 100% sure. I asked her if she ever tried to reconnect with her side of the family. She tried to contact them when she was about to get married, but her parents, siblings, aunts, and uncles didn't want to see her. So she gave up. I asked my mom why Kay was so hurt when I called him by his first name. She explained that for the past 2 years, he had been seeing a therapist because he was struggling with depression and guilt. This revelation caught me off guard. She told me it all started when I was 15. That year, I came home after a handball game where my team won, and I was awarded man of the match. I was so happy and excited to share the news. My mom was proud of me, but Kay barely reacted. He simply told me to put my award with the others in my room. At that moment, I broke down crying in front of him and asked, "Why do you hate me?" He didn't respond, so I went to my room and cried all night. According to my mom, that moment hit him like a knife to the chest, and the feeling never went away, it only got worse over time. She eventually convinced him to see a therapist, and after some time, the therapist managed to break through to him. For the past few years, he had been carrying this guilt but was too afraid to confront it. So when I called him by his first name, it finally hit him that he had lost me. I hesitated before asking my next question, but I needed to know. I asked my mom if Kay had ever abused her. She assured me that he never had. She said that Kay had always loved her, and the only time he ever questioned her about anything was when she was pregnant with my younger brother. At that time, he asked for a paternity test, which she understood. When the results confirmed he was the father, he apologized and never questioned the paternity of my other siblings. Finally, I asked the hardest question: why was I left with people who mistreated me physically, mentally, and emotionally while they went on trips and vacations? My mom was visibly shocked to hear about the physical abuse and immediately asked me to explain. I told her that I never spoke up because I was afraid of Kay's family members when it happened. Then, I told her everything I could remember. Some of the worst things they did included: my grandparents would scold me harshly and hit me when I was younger. My aunt never spoke to me unless she needed a favor. Once she got what she wanted, she went back to ignoring me and made me stay in the guest room. When I was 14, my father took the family on a 2-day trip to Croatia but left me behind with his older brother. One evening, his brother sent me to the store to buy some things. When I returned, he took the bags from me, shut the door, and locked me out of the house. I sat outside crying, waiting for someone to let me in. It wasn't until they had all finished dinner that he finally opened the door. She cried the whole time while I told her everything. She told me how sorry she was. She knew they didn't like me, but this was just hate. After the conversation, she asked if I was going to move out and where. I told her I was planning on it and where I will not tell her because I don't want Kay to know where I would be staying. She started to cry again. And again it hurt to see her cry. The conversation was long and lasted for several hours, but these are just the main points. After that I went to my room to clear my head and think. About an hour later someone knocked at my door and I told them to open. It was Kay who opened the door. He asked if he could enter and I said yes. It was the first time since I can remember he ever entered my bedroom. He looked around for a bit. He looked shelf where I keep all of the awards and trophies from school and sports. He was both surprised and sad when he saw the medals from then I did track and field and played football. He stopped when he saw the small man of the match award and picked it up. He held it for a while and started to tear up. He put it back and sat down on the bed. Neither of us spoke for a while. Eventually, I asked if Mom had told him about our conversation. He was still tearing up and gave a slight nod. I then asked if he truly understood how I saw him. Again, he nodded and whispered, "Yes. So you know the extent of what your family put me through?" I asked. He looked me in the eyes and hesitantly asked if it was true. I told him yes, and at that moment, he broke down completely, crying uncontrollably. After a while, he stood up and pulled me into a hug, for the first time in my life. It was also the first time I had ever seen him cry in front of me. I hugged him back, and soon, I found myself crying too. He held on tightly and kept apologizing, for the pain he had caused me, for the years of neglect, for treating me like an outsider. Then, he begged me not to move out. When he finally let go, he asked for a chance to make things right. I told him that maybe, with time, I could forgive him and Mom, but they would have to earn it. However, I made it clear that I would never forgive his family for what they did to me. And for now, he was still just Kay to me. That clearly hurt him, but he accepted it. For the time being, I have decided not to move out, but if things go back to the way they were, I won't hesitate to leave, and he knows that. We are going to start family therapy together. As for my biological father, I plan to reach out to him in the future. But when it comes to my mother's side of the family, I'm still undecided. I want to thank you for reading. Slight update. I called my friend and told him everything that happened. He reassured me that his door will always be open for me. We've known each other since we started school, and we both play for the same team. I also know his parents well. They are wonderful people. I know many of you want me to move out as soon as possible, but for now, I've decided to give my mom and Kay this one chance, as I promised. That's what I will do for the time being. Honestly, I'm not worried about being stuck in the same cycle again. I've been saving every penny since I started working, so I have options if I need them. To those who have been sending virtual hugs, here's one back to you. Thank you for all the support, it truly means a lot. Update. First, I want to express my gratitude to everyone who commented on my last post and reached out privately. I want you to know that I am safe. I've moved in with my friend, and his family is willing to let me stay with them long term. Your messages have not only opened my eyes but also helped me see my mom and Kay for who they really are. Neither of them truly loves or cares about me. Many of you have shared your own experiences with childhood abuse and neglect, and how you managed to escape it. Your words have given me strength. Every time I've tried to talk to my mom and Kay about the abuse, or asked my mom how she could so easily leave me behind, they've either avoided my questions or resorted to love bombing, promising that things will change. I see things clearly now. And I'm done waiting for them to be different. What really got me was this morning I got a message asking how my mom never noticed any burses when they picked me up after travels and vacations. That sealed the deal for me. There is no way for someone who supposedly cares for you not to notice. This morning I got ready to levy and packed up my things. It wasn't that much that I was taking with me. When I was ready I called my friend and asked him to pick me up when he could and call me when he was outside. When my friend called me and I moved my things out, I informed my mom and Kay that I would be moving out. They didn't take it well and began begging me to stay. I told them I couldn't because it was clear to me that they didn't truly care about me. Kay got defensive, insisting that this was my home and that I shouldn't leave. I asked him why, after 2 years of therapy, he remained the same. Why, despite my best efforts, was I still treated like an outsider? He had no answer. I turned to my mom and asked why she had allowed this to go on for years without doing anything to stop it. Once again, she said nothing. My brothers weren't home, but I said goodbye to my sister. That was the hardest part. She's the only one who has ever treated me with genuine kindness and love. When I told her I was leaving, she looked so sad. Saying goodbye to her was more painful than I expected. As soon as I got into my friend's car, I broke down. We drove around for a bit before heading to his house. His dad helped me get settled into the guest room. Later, my friend told his parents about everything. They sat me down and asked me to tell them the full story, so I did. After talking in private, they came back and told me that they would rather have me stay with them long term than risk going back to that situation. Once again, thank you all for everything. Update. I just wanted to give an update on how I've been doing since I left and clarify a few things. First, a few things to address. Yes, I'm dyslexic, and no, I don't care. This isn't a book report, and I'm not getting graded on my posts. The grammar police will never catch me. This isn't my main account. My main one is followed by some friends and teammates, and I don't want them knowing what I'm going through. My best friend respects my wishes and hasn't shared anything with them. Now, on to what's been happening since I left. My best friend and his family have been nothing but amazing. They've welcomed me as one of their own and have shown me love, kindness, and understanding. I truly appreciate everything they've done to make me feel safe and valued. I've met with my mom and siblings a few times, but never at my old home or my friend's house. I made it very clear that I will never set foot in that house again. It took my mom a while to accept this, but after I ignored her for a few weeks, she stopped asking me to come back. I also switched therapists because I felt like I needed a fresh start in dealing with everything. And yes, therapists are mandatory reporters in my country. I learned that at my first appointment when my new therapist contacted the police and reported my old one. Kay and some of his extended family have tried reaching out. Some sent apologies, while others just threw insults. No surprise there. I blocked the ones who were hateful. To those who apologized, Kay, his parents, his brother, and his brother's family, I replied with a simple message. I accept your apology, but I do not forgive you. That may never happen, and it will be on my terms. For the foreseeable future, do not contact me again. As for what comes next, I don't know. Right now, I'm focusing on school, my mental health, and getting my driver's license. Thank you all so much. I truly appreciate every one of you. Big hugs to all of you.